Video games are only exciting when you play as the main character. All the NPCs you pass by don't have your equipment or superpowers, which turns their seemingly fun world into a nightmare. And you can play a huge part in ruining their day. Some of the best video game franchises would be a hell to live in, while others are more fun than they deserve to be. In this video, I will show you where to migrate to once we figured out how to upload ourselves into the cloud. Over the past centuries, people migrated from all over the world to the United States to start a new life and become wealthy. In 2077, Americans migrate to Night City for the same reason. Night City is a mashup of the hypercharged innovation of Shenzhen, the freedom and focus on a small government like the United States, the market-dominating chaeballs of South Korea, and the gang violence of Mexico. Everything is commoditized, gangs and corporations can evade and bribe the law, while innovation is uncapped and can turn you into a billionaire overnight. Even if Night City looks like a generic futuristic city, behind the corporate glass towers, the future of the planet is decided and built. Living in Night City is high risk, high reward. With ever-improving implants for your mind and body, economic mobility is easily achievable with the right implants and software. If you start in absolute poverty,
everything sucks.
Gangs can become your lifeboat. They offer a way out and up the food chain of Night City because police and government turn a blind eye to most low-level gang activity. While corporations create disruptive new tech that can get you closer to being a digital god or kill you in the process, gangs are fighting gangs, mercenaries fight mercenaries, and the police fights all of them. But most people working in the city have no direct exposure to the gangs. And if you work for a larger company, it will have its own military force that keeps you safe. For outsiders, Night City looks like a failed city, but everyone who has been living here knows there is order in the chaos. The variety of choices in Night City, plus the advanced tech, puts this world into A tier. The only drawback is its high-risk lifestyle, which does not suit everybody. But there are places in this world that are less chaotic. Basically, everywhere outside of Night City. Is this Japan's future? Do the lands between represent the Japanese countryside in the early 22nd century after most of the population urbanized? And the only residents left are old people with dementia? In every FromSoft game, you are a homeless mercenary with the goal to slaughter the remaining animals and humans living in the world. Besides a few friendly strangers who eventually die because you helped them, you can only find sorrow, loss, and destruction in this world. What once was a glorious nation has turned into ruins. There is no infrastructure, the economy is limited to traveling merchants and very few service jobs, and if you die, you are forced to suffer through it, again and again. But I don't think anybody wants to live here anyway. The Mushroom Kingdom is a massive playground for our favorite psilocybin-addicted plumber and his friends. All of them abuse various psychotropic substances, but here, nobody cares. They go pod racing together, compete in party games, and every once in a while, Peach and Bowser prank Mario so that he has to go on an adventure. None of them have to work or care about survival, and just enjoy themselves. While we see little of the daily life of a Koopa or Toad, there is no reason to believe that they are only servants and slaves of Mario and his friends. They might be the only ones maintaining the world's infrastructure, but just as Mario, they can visit the beach resorts, play various sports, or just get high all day. This world is incredibly underrated. S tier for Mario and his friends,
Whoa!
A tier for everyone else. The Witcher 3 might be one of the best video games of all time, but its world is one of the worst to live in. Ordinary people live like peasants in the Middle Ages with no sanitation or vaccines. They have to work all day on their farm, with the constant threat of monsters turning up in their neighborhood. If you are an elf or dwarf, you are more marginalized than most people are today. Witches and witchers are trained through poisoning and torture only to be despised and hunted by the public. In this world, you don't want to stand out, or you'll end up on the stake. At least there's a trade and transport system connecting the world, and markets and traders are common in villages and cities. While the countryside is dangerous and devoid of opportunities, the cities have various manufacturing and service jobs and even produce luxury goods. But did I mention that there's also a war going on? The Witcher 3 has a beautiful world, but don't let that distract you from its horrendous society and infrastructure. It might be worth a visit, but not a stay.
You play Gwent?
If you want to experience the beauty of Witcher 3's countryside and cities, just travel to Italy. Rent yourself a car, drive through the Dolomites, hike through the nature, and afterwards visit Venice to enjoy authentic Italian cuisine and some fine art. Imagine all race car drivers of our planet meet up in an American suburb from the early 2000s. That suburb would be called Paradise City. A city where property damage and reckless driving is incentivized and street races happen all day. As a resident, your car will be wrecked, and there's nothing you can do about it. But despite car crashes everywhere, the number of cars on the street of Paradise City does not decrease. People don't move to other cities or stop driving their cars. So what sounds like an insurance nightmare is actually a world with very different rules. A car crash at high speed does not kill you in Paradise City. And for residents and racers alike, cars are as replaceable as Ubisoft games. Living in Paradise City and getting your car destroyed several times a day is a nuisance. But else, you can live a regular life. If you are a racer, on the other hand, this is truly paradise. C tier for residents, S tier for drivers. Gotham is cursed. It is filled with psychopaths, criminals, corrupt politicians, and an incompetent police force. The only person who stops the criminals is a billionaire who dresses up like a bat. Despite his money and influence, he ignores decades of academic research on how to reduce poverty and crime, and instead beats up the bad guys. He then hands them over to the police, fully knowing that they will be free in a few months or years and commit the next terror attack. His strict no-killing policy results indirectly in thousands of deaths, and him not using his fortune to create a better Gotham results in the same. This would be straight up D tier if it wasn't for something that we are never directly told. People who have no opportunity in their home country leave and flee somewhere nicer, preferably the EU. Gotham has been under attack for decades, but even after all this time, its population never vanished. Gotham is the oxymoron of modern society. It is simultaneously the most dangerous place on the planet, as well as the wealthiest. People come and stay in Gotham because the jobs pay so much money, they are willing to take the risk of crime and terrorism. As much as I want to put this in D tier, it has to go into B tier. B for Batman. Pokémon is the capitalist's dream, and probably yours too. Free Pokémon labor means cheap production of food and products. On Earth, the end of cheap labor is almost in sight. We still have a few nations in Southeast Asia and Africa that have very cheap labor, but this might only last till the end of the century. By then, we either have machines that can do the labor instead, or everything around the world will get more expensive. Pokémon are the perfect solution. Most of them are not smart enough for service jobs, but for manual labor and manufacturing, they are. People would complain about losing their jobs to Pokémon, but once they have a basic income and products become 50% cheaper, they will love it. In this almost post-scarcity world, one form of entertainment is going on an adventure to catch and battle Pokémon. But it's also more than just entertainment. It is a rite of passage into adulthood. Catching your first Pokémon and going on adventures with it rewards you with a deep understanding of how the modern Poké-capitalist world works. Clearly, this belongs in S tier. Okay, there are a lot more games on my list. I think it's time to do a speed round. GTA 5. An exaggerated version of our world. More entertaining, more depressing, but you don't have as much possibilities as a Night City or a post-scarcity society. BioShock. The only survivors of this liberal capitalist utopia are drug addicts, psychos, and monsters. Everyone scavenges for food and drugs, and there's no way out of this nightmare. Watch Dogs. Basically, our world, but without anyone fixing zero-day exploits. A virus has infected everyone, and the world turns to shit. A virus has infected everyone, and the world turns to shit. A virus has infected everyone. Space, aliens, highly advanced tech. What's not to like? Well, space politics are very similar to current-day Earth politics.
Do you take pleasure from committing genocide, Shepard?
Depends on the species, Turian.
And even when there's an ancient life form that purges planets, it takes an insane amount of effort to get everyone to work together for the survival of all species. This, sadly, can't go higher than A tier. The post-apocalypse has never been more entertaining in a video game. When human civilization has taken such a hit that scavenging is a means to survival, and every animal you find will die or mutate from radiation poisoning, you won't survive long either. This world only has the technology of the Middle Ages and should belong in C tier, but the economy and people are more prosperous and happier than they should be. Maybe it's because of their strong religious belief in their savior Link. Maybe it's because they managed to trap the world's evil Ganondorf for 10,000 years and never had any wars or monsters to deal with. Or because their population numbers are so low that they never had issues with sanitation or diseases. Besides the short times when Ganondorf is spreading chaos and Link has to defeat him, this world is actually decent.
Hey, listen!
Excitement and creativity. To be the hero of your own story, to explore and create your own world and challenges. And as Minecraft is still the most sold video game of all time, there are lots of people enjoying exactly this concept. Even if you prefer a more linear life experience, you have to give credit to the creativity unlocked through these games. This is the Living Inside Video Games tier list. Before you get mad at me, yes, there are a lot more games that I did not cover and some that I completely forgot about. And some people really like the worlds that I put into D tier and would put them into A or S tier, even though they're wrong. But that's okay. Everyone has different tastes, and at the end of the day, in whatever world you're in, as long as you're happy, that's what matters.